Good morning. We're here this morning to oversee a statutory licensing subcommittee. My name is Councillor Penny Matthews. Could we have apologies, please, for absence?
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of personal or prejudicial interest?
Chair, it might be appropriate that everyone goes around and introduces themselves.
We'll do that next. Any disclosures of personal or prejudicial interest? No? Thank you. Before we go on to the main substance of today's application, we're going to introduce ourselves so we know then across the wires who we're talking to. As I said, I'm Councillor Penny Matthews. On my left.
My name is Aled Griffith. I'm the legal advisor for the subcommittee.
And Councillor Cheryl Philpott, member of the subcommittee.
Yeah, and I'm Councillor Philip Downey, and also a member of the committee.
I'm Lucy, licensing assistant, just observing today.
I'm Yvonne Lewis. I'm the team leader for licensing, and I'm acting as responsible authority for the licensing authority today.
I'm Annie Davis. I'm a licensing officer, and I'm also acting as responsible authority today.
I'm Police Constable Nicola Evans, and I cover the Swansea City Centre for the licensing team.
I'm Sergeant James Pontin from Licensing Departments, Swansea.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Loosemore, Operational Lead for Licensing.
Morning, I'm Lindsay Stark, Licensing Officer for Swansea Council.
Good morning, I'm Samantha Jenkins, Democratic Services Officer.
And online this morning we have, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, gentlemen, please.
Good morning, I'm Peter Conisby from PC Licensing, representing South Wales Grocers.
Thank you. And the other gentleman?
Good morning, my name is Manu Nagantram. I'm the owner of South Wales Grocers Limited.
Thank you very much. Now, going through the papers, we've had the running order, the way that things are run and the order that they will take. Everyone will have had a copy of this. I'm assuming you gentlemen online have had a copy. Yes, we can go through the procedure if you wish, but it is lengthy. Do you want us to go through the procedure, or can we skip that bit?
Please skip it, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are you happy with that also, sir?
Yes, skip it, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll go to the officer now, who will take us through the papers and explain why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll now go through the report of the service manager for a premises licence for South Wales Grocers Limited, which is located at 55 The Kingsway, Swansea. The applicant is South Wales Grocer, and it's for a new premises licence. An application was received for a new premises licence by this authority on the 20th of May 2024. The applicant has applied for a premises licence to allow the following licensing activities to take place: the supply of alcohol off the premises for Monday to Sunday, 7 AM until 2 AM, and a copy of the application and plan is attached to Appendix A and A1, which can be found on page 7 and page 33. The background is that the property is situated in Swansea Town Centre, and the area is a mix of commercial and residential properties. This premises is a small, independently owned convenience store concentrating on providing a mixed range of consumable goods and household products. The premises owner would like the ability to complement the sale of foodstuffs with the provision of alcohol. The applicant has also taken into consideration the fact the venue sits within the cumulative impact area and as such has offered conditioning in line with the venue in such an area to ensure that the objectives are upheld. A location plan is attached to Appendix B, which is on page 34, and a list of licensed premises in the area is attached at Appendix B1 on page 35. The promotion of the licensing objectives. The Licensing Act 2003 contains 4 licensing objectives, namely 1, the prevention of crime and disorder, 2, public safety, 3, the prevention of public nuisance, and 4, the protection of children from harm. Each of these objectives is of equal importance, and the application must demonstrate how they are to be promoted. Conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule and will be attached to the licence, if granted, are attached to Appendix C, which is on page 38. Relevant representations which have been received are 1 representation from South Wales Police and 1 representation from the Licensing Authority. A copy of these representations are attached to Appendix D and D1, which is on pages 40 and 43. Policy considerations. Considering this application, members should have regard to the current statement of licensing policy, which can be found at the link within the report. Guidance issued by the Home Secretary. Members should also have regard to the relevant parts of the current statutory guidance issued by the Home Secretary in January 2024, and in particular to number 1, the introduction chapter 1, 2, licensing objectives chapter 2, 3, applications for premises licence chapter 8, 4, determining applications chapter 9, 5, conditions attached to premises licence chapter 10, 6, statement of licensing policy chapter 14, and 7, regulated entertainment chapter 16, and a link to the full guidances within the report. Determination of the application. The decision must be based on the individual merits of the application and the representations received, with a view to promoting the licensing objectives outlined in paragraph 5 of the report. In arriving at the decision, members should also have regard to the relevant provisions of the policy and the guidance as previously provided. Reasons must be provided for any departures from the policy or guidance. In reaching the decision, the committee must have regard to the representations, take such steps mentioned below, if any, as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. A, grant the licence subject to 1, conditions that reflect the operating schedule, modified to such extent as the authority considers appropriate for promotion of the licensing objectives. 2, any mandatory conditions relevant to the licence. B, exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates. C, refuse to specify a person in the licence as the premises supervisor. D, reject the application. In view of the representations received, the licensing subcommittee's instructions are requested. That concludes the reading of the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the officer, please? No? No? Okay, thank you. We have had extra information yet?
Yeah, I was just going to refer to that. Sorry, Chair. Yeah, we did receive some additional information last week on the 2nd of July from the applicant's agent, Mr. Conserby. It has been circulated to all parties. Everyone's had sight of it. I'm sure it will be discussed this morning. Thank you.
That's grand. Thank you for that. Okay, this was late coming in, but it's been accepted and passed round, so we will have all had a copy each of that. Okay, so we go now to the objectives, the main objective being the police. So can we go to you next, please?
Morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
As it's been stated, obviously you've had a copy of our representations, and obviously the applicant has now come back and confirmed that they're willing to adapt the conditions that we proposed, which was coming back to 11 o'clock in the evening and also having the DPS on the premises at all times. The reason we asked for that was sometimes younger members of staff, historically, we know that they tend to be a congregational area for antisocial behaviour, and also for street drinkers, alcohol dependent. Sometimes they're intimidating, and younger members of staff may be more susceptible to serving them, as opposed to a DPS being on the premises and refusal to sell alcohol and put it in the logs. So that's why we asked for those conditions to be added. However, we still are quite concerned. We do still have areas further down the road, obviously, that are still having problems with antisocial behaviour. And due to the fact that it's in the CIA, we would just ask that maybe they could elaborate on how they would combat these issues and how they're not going to make a further impact into the CIA. Because we do have a sort of a young drop-in centre very close by, and we wouldn't want them to have to be involved in all that. They're vulnerable people as they are, and could be susceptible then to being, roped into things that really they shouldn't be. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the officer, please? Councillor Downing? No? No, sorry. Does the applicant have any questions for the officer, please.
So, Chair, just one thing I want to clarify. The officer said DPS at the premises at all times. We've said personal licence holder. I don't think it'd be fair for the DPS to be there pretty much 24/7. Thank you.
Do you want to come back on that? We go now to the licensing authority, who've also objected. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Chair. The licensing authority, as a responsible authority, makes the following representation to the grant of the above-mentioned premises licence. The premises is described as a small independently owned convenience store concentrated on providing a mixed range of consumable goods and household products. The premises owner would like the ability to complement the sale of foodstuffs with the provision of alcohol. The location of the premises is on the Kingsway, Swansea, which is included within the cumulative impact assessment area adopted by this council in July 2023, having first been introduced in 2011, referenced at 6.7 of the Statement of Licensing Policy. Cumulative impact is, as we are aware, the potential impact on the promotion of the licensing objectives of a significant number of licensed premises concentrated in one area. For example, the potential impact on the prevention of crime and disorder and public nuisance. The cumulative impact assessment states at paragraph 5.11 that should the applicant not be able to demonstrate that their operation will not add to the cumulative impact, a licence should be refused. It is the opinion of the licensing authority in this case that the applicant has not provided sufficient information as to why the premises licence application should be granted, nor has the applicant sufficiently demonstrated how the licensing objectives will be promoted. The premises subject to this application is also in close proximity to Infonation 47 the Kingsway, Swansea. Swansea's one-stop shop for young people, offering information, advice and support services to some of the most vulnerable young people in Swansea, and proposes to open when these services are offered to young people. This application proposes trading Monday to Sunday, 24 hours per day with licensable activities, namely the sale of alcohol terminating at 2 AM. The licensing authority acknowledges that the applicant has stated in the application itself that the application has taken into consideration the fact the venue sits within the cumulative impact area and as such has offered conditioning in line with the venue in such an area to ensure that the objectives are upheld. However, the application does not demonstrate this further, taking into account the location, times of operation and type of surrounding premises. In particular, of note, the protection of children from harm objective has not been addressed sufficiently. I submit this as a representation on behalf of the licensing authority acting as responsible authority under the Licensing Act 2003, as I consider that the applicant has not demonstrated how the premises will promote the licensing objectives, in particular the prevention of crime and disorder, public nuisance and the protection of children from harm, and therefore will not add to the cumulative impact assessment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The applicant has now amended the times. So have you got a view on that, please?
We are accepting of the fact that they've pulled back their hours. Agreeable, yes.
Do either of the committee have any questions, please?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that the hours have been accepted, given what the licensing authority have made very clear in their application. I'm not quite sure what limiting the hours will actually do to help the cumulative effect. So perhaps we could have a little bit of an explanation on that.
Yeah, Chair, if I can step in. The hours have been accepted in line with obviously the submission. The CIA still stands, and that's a consideration for you as a committee today. It's not for the licensing authority to make that determination because we do have a policy as a council. It's just that the fact that the hours are submitted today have been accepted as a way of and a consideration for you in terms of upholding those objectives. They go some way to that, but that is down to your consideration today.
Any more questions? No? Okay. Does the applicant have any questions, please, for the authority?
No questions, Chair. No.
No? Okay, thank you. So now we go, what, I can look at my list now to see where I'm going. Yeah. So now we go to the applicant who will explain to us why he's applying for this particular location and the hours and what effect it's going to have on the CIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My client will tell you a little bit more about himself shortly when I pass over to him, but a brief picture is that he's been in the Swansea area for 5 years now, and for a number of years has experience of running 2 post offices, convenience stores and alcohol provision in both those as well. He did inform me when we started off this that the area of Swansea needs a little uplifting, that there's no convenience store along Kingsway, which is why my client acquired the property at 55 to run as a convenience store, not an off licence per se. The alcohol provision at the venue will be really, really small. All alcohol for sale will be on site at the cashier, and a big point to make here is the alcohol plays a really small supplementary role to the other goods on sale. The reason why he's decided to put alcohol within the application, or to ask for alcohol sales, is just because with any of these small convenience stores, exactly what they are. They are convenient for anyone that has forgotten something in their weekly, monthly shop, or whatever, or has something going on that evening. They can literally pop in and grab something. There is more chance of someone coming into a convenience stop that's got an alcohol provision than there is going into one without, which is why we have this application today. As stated, it's what I'm hearing from responsible authorities is it's like it's a fully stocked wall-to-wall off license. It's nothing like that at all. So the main aim of the store is to sell groceries and household products. He actually has very little interest in selling alcohol, but it is necessary to have that full range of options to get customers in the door and to make the business a success. The application was put together with due consideration to location and cumulative impact. I'm a little surprised about hearing that, the fact that we added in that no alcohol be sold by single can sale with an ABV over 6%. No more than 10% of the available space for goods within the store being lent to alcohol product. Things like that are the sort of things that do not appear on normal applications for convenience stores. So we did consider the potential impact. And as a result, obviously, there's that, and there's also the alcohol being locked behind a shutter outside of licensable hours. So, as I say, my client was aware of some of the issues in the area, and will obviously train and educate his staff members at the premises. But on receipt of the reps, was obviously made aware of these other concerns, which not everyone would be aware of. We do believe we'd already dealt with the potential issue of attracting street drinkers with that 6% ruling, which tends to work in other areas. We did add another, which I'll come to in a moment. Yes, the convenience store is, say, close to InfoNation. It's 50 metres away. I obviously don't know the area that well. I'm sat over here in Cambridge. My client knows it very, very well. I was just a little surprised myself that perhaps it's a reflection of the other venues selling alcohol and whatever that are closer to InfoNation that have caused these problems in the past. I don't know. But regardless, my client accepted the concerns, and as we've already discussed, reduced the hours of licensable activity term allowed to 11 p.m. Accepted that personal license holder will be on sale, will be on duty at all times that alcohol is for sale. And we've also put in as well, because this is in my previous experience, a problem with potential street drinkers and the young as well, is that we're going to state there's no 50 milliliter miniatures will be available for sale. So with regard to the application being considered not sufficient in regard to the protection of children from harm, in the absence of specific evidence from my research or knowledge of my client and taking note of the revised guidance, the only thing we've not offered is a full exclusion of persons under the age of 18. Don't really want to prevent teenagers popping in to pick something up for parents or shopping elsewhere. Not a great promotion for the area. As I say, the main aim of this store is not to sell alcohol, but to sell groceries and household products. We wouldn't really want to prevent younger people coming in. But in our letter to the reps, we did suggest that we could refuse entry to anyone that appears to be under the age of 18 after a certain hour, unless they're accompanied by an adult. But this in itself can be fraught with issues, and in my experience can cause more problems. A simple sign can often suffice and reduce such issues, which my client would be happy to pop up if need be. hopefully you'll note that my client is trying to prove that he's considered the potential impact and response to further concerns, and is trying to prove a point that his little store will not impact the current issues in the area. If you wouldn't mind, if I could pass over to him now just to introduce himself, tell you a little bit more about his premises and his knowledge and experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Manu. I've been living in Swansea for 5 years. Peter has explained most of it. I'm also a postmaster. I would like to convey my thoughts. Like, I'm a responsible retailer. I have been. I'm fully aware of the consequences of selling alcohol in stores. We have very strict rules of how to minimize nuisance to public, and how to safeguard children that coming into the store, and then public safety, and of course our own safety of our own staff members as well. We have a strong system of internal system where we identify troublemakers. We ban them constantly. That we don't sell any single cans in any of our other stores. And of course, we won't be selling any of the 6.5 or anything over that in our stores. Um, yeah, I would like to really help this area where there's no other shops, or the street is run down. There are so many empty shops. I just seen an opportunity that we could help this area with bringing a convenience store. I think the genuine city goers, they will be benefited by a shop in that area, and of course, only a 10% of space will be allocated for alcohol. That just to help us cater our genuine customers who like to take a drink home and enjoy their day. That's all basically. I would just thankful. I'd be thankful if a license is granted. We'll be very responsible. We won't allow any children in our alcohol section. We will be considerate about our neighbors. We will try and minimize people drinking outside. We'll be really adding a value to this area. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions, please?
Yeah, got a couple of things to say, Chair, so I hope that everybody will bear with me. Mr. Conybeare, I hear what you say about that you don't know Swansea. You would possibly have been, it would probably have been helpful for you to come down to Swansea to see exactly what does happen on the Kingsway and that area, particularly in the daytime, where we do have a lot of issues with people who have been drinking. There's lots of antisocial behaviour. And, you know, I will say that although you don't know, your client would be well aware of the reputation of the city centre and the huge problems that we have, and particularly with young people and people of all ages, and particularly the exploitation of young people by the older people who are under the influence of alcohol and perhaps other addictive sources as well. Now, that's just a little bit of an oversight of what the Kingsway reputation is actually like at the moment. I'm not saying that a convenience store would actually be quite helpful, because there is going to be a lot of residential buildings, lots of residential apartments that are going to make up a lot of the Kingsway. However, you did say, and correct me if I've written it down incorrectly, that the alcohol part of the business will be a very small supplementary offering, not the main aim. But then you went on to say, but it will be needed to get customers through the door. Now, that's quite a conflicting statement. It's either going to be the main aim to get customers through the door, or it's not going to be the main aim. 10% of the offering is, although you said it's going to be behind the counter, there's no restriction on where that alcohol can actually be. So we could find ourselves in a situation where the offering would be a lot more than 10%. Talking about the offering, you've mentioned that you wouldn't sell anything in the small shop bottles, the miniatures. However, nothing has been said about the other smaller sizes of alcohol bottle. So you've got the half pint, the 200 ml, which has 4 shots, 8 shots in a 375 ml, which is a small bottle. And what we do find is that a lot of people will go to a convenience store to buy alcohol before they go to the more pricier licensed premises with activities such as nightclubs, etc. So this is something that we have to take in mind, that the convenience store would be a very valuable asset to people wanting to buy cheap drinks before going on somewhere else, which is why part of the cumulative effect has been taken into the city centre. So I'm, and again, you know, I can't, you've made the sounds that you know what to do to protect children, etc. But you haven't actually said how you're going to do it other than train the staff. And I'm not finding that adequate. I need you to explain a little bit more. And I'll hand over to my colleague as well.
It might be best that those issues are dealt with first. There was quite a few. There's quite a lot of issues in there, so it might make sense for the applicant to be able to address those, and then we'll go to Councillor Downing. Thank you.
But before they do that, I wasn't going to say a great deal, but the only concern that what Cheryl has said was the 10%. You've got fixed display units, which to me looks like more than 10%. So if you can explain that part of it as well, and of course the size of the bottles as well. But there was nothing else that jumped up, because
it sounds like it's the same issues that have been raised in any event.
The same.
Okay.
And you know, you've addressed at 2 o'clock in the morning back to 11 o'clock. So we look at that.
Okay, if the applicant would like to respond, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll cover off the 10% first, because that's the easiest one. The condition actually states no more than 10% of the available space for goods. So if you consider all of the shelf space, etc., no more than 10% of that will be available. And the alcohol on display would be within sight of the cashier. I don't know where my client has decided that alcohol is exactly going to go, and I'm sure he'll be able to tell you himself at the moment, because that's not something we've discussed. But normally when I have come across problems like this before in areas like this, so long as the alcohol is in view of the cashier, it does prevent people coming in and trying to take advantage and perhaps steal bottles as well. And obviously with 10%, it's a small store anyway, so that 10% will be a small amount. The likelihood is it's going to be even smaller than that. I don't think that sorry, I'm just looking back to in terms of the necessity for alcohol, I don't see it as conflicting. The point I was trying to put across, and I apologise if I didn't make it very clear, is that if people are, let's say, just as an example, a friend decides to give you a shout during the day and so they want to pop round for dinner and you haven't got enough stuff in, the chances are you're going to go to somewhere that potentially sells alcohol, where you can get a bottle of wine or something similar to go with the dinner, because you weren't expecting your friend to come around. You've already done your weekly shop, your monthly shop or whatever. And so that's why there is a better chance of people coming into such a store when you're selling alcohol like that. So yes, it does sound bad that you're trying to encourage people to come in because you're selling alcohol, but it's the amount of alcohol that you've actually got on sale is the point here that I'm trying to make. It's very, very small, and it's literally complementary to the main reason for the store, which is the household goods and foodstuffs, products, etc. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't come over to Swansea. I would have loved to. It's a very, very long distance for me to come. I've obviously taken advice from my client, who knows the area very, very well. Yes, he is aware of some of the issues there. Perhaps not the absolute gravity of some of the issues, because obviously when people live in the area, much the same as where the area that I live, I don't get to see what happens after sort of 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. through to the early hours. Obviously, the police and the local authority get to see that all the time. We're grateful for hearing that information, because it's sometimes news to someone like me and to Manu Kumar as well, who sees some of the issues during the day but didn't realise it was that bad. Obviously, later on. In terms of the 50 milliliter bottles, these are sort of the standard sort of miniatures. But again, if you this was a conversation that I had with my client last week over not selling miniatures. Miniatures do come in all sorts of ranges and sizes, but in my experience, as I said earlier on, they tend to be the small ones that people will nip in and purchase to get that quick fix before they head off somewhere else, which is why we put that in there. And I'm sure that my client would be happy to explain exactly what size of spirit bottles and what have you that he intends to sell, if you'd like me to pass over to him.
Yes, please.
Manu?
Yes, please.
Right. In terms of the bottle sizes, I think the smallest bottle next to the miniatures will be a 250 ml. I think those bottles have a minimum price limit. I think that won't be affordable for a street drinker to buy it and drink it. So it will start from that range. We wouldn't be selling anything smaller than that. And the price range will be unaffordable for somebody who tries to drink on the street, or somebody trying to binge drink and things like that. It will be in a size that's suitable for somebody to take it home and drink it from the houses. Does that help?
Okay, thank you. Do you have more questions, please?
No, Chair, I probably would just repeat myself. I just can't get the, I think once it's said, isn't it? And the fact that you made the statement that the offering is there, it's needed to get customers in through the door. This is a small convenience store. What you suggested was that people would pop in there because they've been invited to dinner and possibly pick up a bottle of wine. But as you're aware, this area does already have a number of establishments that do serve alcohol. Some are convenience stores as well. So you haven't explained how this particular shop wouldn't be adding to the already cumulative impact that we do have, where within a short walking distance there are already these stores. And I think this is what we want to hear from you, is how you're not going to add to the cumulative impact that we already have.
If you'd like to respond, please.
Sorry, Chair, I was under the impression there were no other convenience stores in Kingsway. Obviously, maybe that's information that I've got wrong. Maybe that there are lots of other stores doing exactly the same down there. It's a very difficult thing to come across, and I mean, obviously, we're very much against having any premises selling alcohol in the area because of the problems that have been allowed to happen in the area. But independently, my client is already running 2 venues where he has dealt with issues in that area, and that's what he said earlier on. So in terms of his training of staff, not having any issues at those premises, and him not having any problems himself from local authorities, police, etc., sort of proves to me that he's got a good hand in dealing with such issues. In terms of the protection of children from harm, the conditions that we put in are the standard conditions, and as I said earlier on, the only other thing that we could do is to prevent anyone under the age of 18 coming into the store, which is not something that you would want to do when you're just concentrating on selling convenience foods, etc. It all bases on whether there is a trust for whether my client can train his staff and to deal with any issues that may come his way. And from what I've heard from my client, yes, he can, because he's obviously got these other two stores that he's running for a number of years where he's not causing the issues in the local area. So thank you.
Can I just make a point of clarification there, just in respect of the convenience stores and the location? I think it is correct from looking at the other licensed premises that there are no other convenience stores on the Kingsway, although there are the licensed premises. The location of the other convenience stores are within the wider cumulative impact area, but not on the Kingsway itself. I just hope that that's clarified the issue. Thanks. Oh, within walking distance, yes, but it's within, not on that street, but within the locality. That's probably the best way of saying it.
Thank you, Chair. Could you tell us where the 2 stores that your client has got at the moment, and where are they?
Hi. One of them is Post Office Eslavera. The other one is Kumkara Post Office.
So totally different environments to the store, totally different environment locations as to the store that you are considering now. And I don't really know how you could compare those 2 other stores to the Kingsway.
They both are on the high street. The one is Aslavera is Commercial Street, Kumkara is High Street. We have other venues similar to the one in Kingsway next to each other. We are aware of sort of customers that come in the night times for enjoyment and refreshment and things like that. I sort of know the customer. Even Kingsway, I've been there for a few years. It seems like the most of the we had a little survey of the area. We seems like the most of the customers will be the passing crowd. There are no benches or anything to sit down and drink like the other areas of the city center. So I don't think that we will be causing any problem like nuisance outside and things like that.
So, with the greatest respect, it's not having somewhere to sit, and there are a number of areas on the Kingsway. They might not be seats, but there are raised ledges with grass areas in between that people do sit. I'm not saying that they are drinking alcohol there. However, we do see people stretched out in the daytime. And again, I really don't think that the environment of Ystalyfera or Cymgrach give you any idea about, the issues that are experienced on the Kingsway. I think that our police colleague did give you an overview, and it does say in the correspondence, how difficult that, situations can be there. And again, I can only reiterate that we do have a policy, which is a cumulative impact policy, and it is for you to demonstrate how you feel that you can overcome that. And I at the moment, I'm not hearing that, and I can't speak for colleagues, obviously.
Would you like to respond, please?
I've got nothing further to say. I mean, we've said all that we can say, and I don't think. Well, it's probably best that I just stop there for the time being. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? I've got a few questions myself. I've kept them to the end. One or two things that I'm really concerned about, and the obvious thing is cumulative impact and the impact this is going to have on the Kingsway, because you've got next door, you've got the one-stop shop where vulnerable people visit daily, and then opposite you've got the church. And with the two things there, it's so near, in such close proximity, it's quite possible that, Councillor Philpott said, that the chairs for the church, which are very often left outside, will be used for drinkers if they're allowed to buy and drink. And they're not always, in fairness in Swansea, they're not always fussy about getting a seat, because very often you'll see them slumped on the floor and they'll just sit wherever they are and just drink. I'd like to know what measures you've got. I realise that outside isn't your domain, but on the other hand, if you've supplied the alcohol, what measures have you got to move them on from outside your property after they've bought?
Thank you, Chair. It's a good point. The point to me there is that where you say you've supplied the alcohol, I think with all due respect to people that do like a drink during the day and do like to hang around city centres drinking from cans, I think my client's got enough experience to be able to work out and certainly train members of staff who should be sold to and who should not be sold to during the daytime. I personally think that without being rude or unkind, they do tend to stick out tend to stick out quite well. And that's for him to be training his staff, which I know he would do, to not sell to those people. Or obviously, if anyone comes in that looks like they've had too much to drink, etc., or needs further assistance in any other way, then he wouldn't be selling them alcohol. So I think that prevents it. Certainly, if the church are leaving chairs out as well, then that's something to tap into the training. That if the church have left the chairs outside, and then you see, as a member of staff, you see people coming from the church heading over towards you, you're not going to be selling to them. And after a while, these people, if that's exactly what they are doing, they're going to get used to that and realise they're not going to get any joy from this premises.
Okay, thank you. And how would you reckon then that this particular convenience store isn't going to impact on the cumulative impact? Because you're asking us to give a licence to an area in Swansea that we know is troubled, and from what I'm hearing, we're not altogether happy about it.
Yeah, Chair, it's to me, it's down to training and education. Yes, there's been an education today, because no matter how much reading one does on an area or knowledge one does on an area, unless you're dealing with those issues, I'm a retired police officer myself, so I understand where the police and the local authority are coming from. That unless you're actually dealing with these issues day in, day out, the general members of the public aren't going to know the full depth that you know. So when we submit an application, we put an application in to which we think is going to be suitable for the area. We then learn more when representations come in. And I would say to clients, be grateful for representations because it's more knowledge. So you then realise that there are other issues perhaps that you need to try and deal with as well, which is what we have done. And then obviously today there's more information coming through. It is all in terms of training the staff, and everything that we take on board today is an education for my client to take back and for me to take back if he wants me to help out as well, in educating and training the staff that are going to be working at the premises of what they can and what they can't do, what they need to look out for, etc., all those various different things. I don't think there's like I said earlier on, unless we ban certain sections of society, and as we ban certain people from coming into the store or cover the whole windows up in various different notices, I don't think those sort of things work. It's down to the actual operator to ensure that those problems aren't exacerbated by their presence.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant, please? I'm throwing this open now to the authority and the police. No? Thank you. To the police, we finished? No more questions? No. Okay, so we have no more questions for you, but if you'd like to sum up, we will go into recess and make a decision that'll be sent to you within 5 working days.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just one quick line. I believe my client's shown a willingness to work with the responsible authorities and shown within his proposed conditioning and amendments that the training that's going to be taking on at the premises and the learning from today and through the representations as well, that he's going to train staff, and we won't be adding to the impact in the area. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And would the applicant like to say anything at all?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. We have developed a very strong culture in the other stores where we don't entertain problematic drinkers. We will make sure that the message gets through to the customers that a problematic drinker wouldn't be entertained in our stores, and also that we'll work with the other community groups in the area to receive messages and work together with them, and even local police force and things like that. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for attending this morning, gentlemen. We are now going into recess, so if you could disconnect. Thank you.